Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our Bachelor in Paradise Live. We had not one, but 2 episodes of Bachelor in Paradise this week, and we are going to be breaking down everything that happened on last night's episode while providing some commentary about what happened on Monday night's episode, because I think we can all agree Monday night was just a little bit better than Tuesday night. So on last night's episode, Thomas arrived in paradise, causing all of the guys to pee their pants. Riley arrived in paradise, and Lance Bass took over as host. As always, I am your host, Zachary Reality, and I am joined today by Fiona Zaring and Morgan Wright, and we are going to get all into it. Fiona, what did you think of last night's episode? How did it compare for you to Monday night's episode?
I have to say I loved Monday and I was so excited for Tuesdays, and I felt a little let down, mainly because I think a lot of the drama could have been explosive. Like, there was a lot going on that beach that could have made for an incredible episode, and it just kind of fell a little flat. Didn't get as dramatic as I think I was expecting it to, but I'm not mad. I'm invested. I'm gonna keep going. I'm excited for next week. What about you, Morgan?
Yeah, I honestly feel like I know that in the normal Bachelor and Bachelorette seasons, they've been trying recently to not end every episode with a rose ceremony. I did not think it worked in this Bachelor in Paradise, concept. I feel like if we would have had a rose ceremony last night, it would have been a little bit more dramatic. But because it was just pretty much dates and drama on the beach, it wasn't as intense, like you said, Fiona, as I think it could have been.
I really like when they end it with a rose ceremony, but I feel like if they're doing 2 nights a week, then maybe it only makes sense to do 1 rose ceremony a week, because then there's just like too many people going home in 1 week, if that makes sense. But either way, I think we can all agree that Monday night was a lot more explosive, but we're still going to talk about Tuesday night because a lot did happen. But before we do that, we do have an update from Victoria P and the missing boyfriend. So we kind of have to talk a little bit about that first, because Victoria P went on the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast to dish on her time on the show and whether or not she had a boyfriend. And this is what she said. She said, Victoria said she met this guy, Ted, who we found out from Instagram, in February, and she knew Paradise was going to be a thing, so she didn't necessarily want to give him a chance, but she ended up falling for him. It kind of happened naturally, and they were dating for about 2.5 months. However, during that time, Bachelor in Paradise was hovering over their relationship, and she didn't feel like she could fully commit to him because of that. So when it came time to make the decision whether or not she was going to Paradise, she ultimately decided to go because she didn't want to regret not going. And then she also said that Ted didn't fight for her to stay, which was kind of a red flag for her. So she went to explore her options. So this is her side of the story that we didn't necessarily get to hear on the beach. Fiona, how does that sit with you? Does this provide any more clarity or context? What do you think about the situation?
Well, honestly, it all sounds like really logical and human, and like these things happen, right? Like, she signs on for something months before she gets there. She meets a guy, she's exploring it a little bit, but it's not like they got engaged and she went on the beach. Or at least the way I interpreted it when the drama was going down, that this was like a very serious boyfriend of like a whole year that was being hidden, that she wiped from her socials, right? Like, all of this sounds like if she would have just been a little more chill, found some words, explained herself, communicated, like, maybe it wouldn't have played out the way it did. I don't know. She kind of lost me last week. I was like, this girl's just gotta go. And this doesn't seem like that big of a deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it's a bigger deal that Piper and Brendan, everyone knows that they're like pretty much together at this point. Like, I'm more mad that Brendan is just sitting there playing with Natasha, playing with Demi to get a rose until Piper walks down. Like, at least this is more like, it happened, it didn't work out, yes, it was recent, but here I am. So it's like, I would much rather this scenario happen than a Piper and Brendan scenario, which I know we will get into in a little bit.
Well, that's a good point, but I'm gonna have to say that Victoria P was messy. Like, she was so messy, she could not explain herself. It might sound logical, Fiona, because I'm explaining it as a diligent news reporter that I am, but I'm telling you, listening to the podcast, Victoria P had no idea what she was saying. Her story kept on mixing up. Her story was different on Instagram. Her story was different on the beach. I mean, this girl was messy, and I feel like she wouldn't have left the beach to begin with if she didn't have someone back at home. Otherwise, she would have fought harder and explained herself more clearly, and her therapy tactics clearly did not work. So listen, Victoria P, like, great person, never have met her in real life, but I'm sure she's great. But I just think that she was really messy about the situation. I mean, do you guys have anything else to add on her and on this, or can we just move on to the next topic?
I have
needs to
something.
be done.
I have something.
Okay. Yes.
You know, she did reference a lot, like, you know, what she learned in therapy, and that all contestants on the show go through therapy. So I actually don't blame her for leaving at this point, because, like, considering the circumstances, I feel like she probably knew in her head how this is going to appear on TV. She probably didn't want to sit around and be badgered by Tammy and Kelsey, because, you know, Tammy would not let that go. You know, she's the one that brought it up. She kind of led the charge. I don't think that she would let that go with anybody. So I feel like she really knew, Victoria knew that she was screwed, and she really had no choice if she wants to preserve her mental health, doesn't want to go through fighting with these girls every single day, to just bail at that moment.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Fiona, I know you watched Peter's season. Do you think that there was, like, any correlation from her on Peter's season? And weren't her and Kelsey friends in Nashville? So I was just upset that Kelsey threw her under the bus in a way. I expected it from Tammy, though.
I think her and Kelsey were more just like people who had similar circles and obviously knew each other. I definitely don't think there was any like bad blood between them in Nashville, but it's not like you see them posting together a ton, like they were super besties. I definitely think the correlation from Peter's season is simply like, obviously very different circumstances, but she also left Peter's season after being wound up in a whole mess, kind of being caught in a lie. Like, she either really struggles to communicate things in a way that is effective for herself, right? Or she gets caught in accidental white lies and then cannot navigate her way out of it. I definitely agree with you, Morgan. It seems like she read the room and knew that this was an environment that was not going to continue to work for her. And I mean, again, not to like go on the defensive for her now, but she really didn't connect with any of those initial guys. I loved Kelsey's exit when she was like, there just wasn't someone there for me. You know what? There might not be someone there for you. It felt like there was not a match for her. She couldn't even remember James's name, and she just needed to go. It was not the time for her.
The only thing I'll defend her in is that she couldn't remember James's name, because no one remembered James's name, especially from Katie's season. Like, he was box guy. But honestly, like, I love that you guys are coming to her defense, and maybe you guys are right. I'm just going to go on the record and say I think she's messy, but that's just my personal opinion, and we're going to have to just close this chapter. Maybe there will be a Bachelor in Paradise reunion and she can show up and kind of revisit that. So we'll have to kind of stay tuned for that. But before we move on to Thomas, I do want to remind everyone to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss out on any future videos. We're talking Bachelor in Paradise all season long, so make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. But we have to dish on Thomas, the infamous Thomas who arrived on the beach ready to face the guys he left off on bad terms with from Katie's season. And while talking to the girls, Thomas made sure to let them know he was, how tall was he, Morgan?
6'6".
6'6". So while Thomas was getting to know the girls, a lot of the guys from Katie's season, particularly Aaron, were talking to everyone, kind of warning them about Thomas. So, I mean, we have to kind of dish on that first. Fiona, do you think that the guys had the right to kind of bash Thomas so quickly? And did he even get a fair chance? Like, it just came across too quickly, in my opinion, maybe.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like there's no fairness in paradise. There's no rules in paradise. And the way they stacked this beach, right, was basically all of Thomas's enemies, including Carl, right? Like,
yeah,
there was no chance that he'd be able to kind of slip under the radar because there were too many people that were very, very recently in major conflict with him, and producers knew that. So I don't think he was really put on the beach for a fair second chance at love. I think he was literally put on the beach because all the rest of those guys were going to be there and it was inevitably going to cause drama. Now, to your point on like, did he get a fair chance? Was it fair to like spread as much drama tea about him as they did? I think they could have held back a little bit because it honestly was so excessive, it didn't really work, right? They were all just like crossing their arms and puffing out their chest and saying this guy sucks, and all of the girls were like, whatever, you guys seem jealous and dramatic, like he's hot. You know what I mean?
And he's tall.
I think if they had, right, and I think if they had taken a slightly more efficient, less fiery approach, maybe some more people would have listened. So I don't know. It definitely was an interesting arrival.
And it was all led by Aaron. I mean, the thing is, Carl isn't really getting that kind of villain behavior either, or like that kind of situation. Like Thomas seems like way worse. A lot of the guys have a problem with him. Morgan, what's your thoughts on the James, Trey, and Aaron trio? We have to talk about these memes where Aaron is like the Lindsay Lohan mean girl.
Yeah, I mean, something that I kind of forgot in watching last night's episode, and I had to remind myself, is that at this point, Katie's season was still airing while they were filming, right? So this was so fresh for these guys. It was like maybe a month removed. It's not like, you know, they went through the season, everything hashed out, they saw how it played out, blah, blah, blah. This is like, okay, we're wrapping. You get eliminated from Katie's season 1 week, and 3 weeks later, you're going to be on the beach with your nemesis on the show, you know? So there definitely wasn't enough time between Katie's season and Bachelor in Paradise for these guys to really bury the hatchet. But I don't know. It's like you said, Fiona. I feel like the girls should have had the opportunity to feel it out for themselves, which is exactly what Serena P did, right? I mean, as soon as she saw that he was talking badly about Trey, she was like, okay, this isn't something that I really want to be a part of. So I don't know. To me, I'm just over the storyline of those three guys always talking about Thomas. Like, it's enough already.
Thomas. I mean, like, I get where they're coming from as well. Like, I do think Thomas is kind of a jerk. I think he's kind of a player. Like, he's not my favorite by any means, but I think that they were just coming at him, like, too quickly. Like you mentioned, Morgan, they could have at least waited for him to go on the date before they started talking so much trash. Like, he didn't even enter down the beach, down the stairs before they were kind of, you know, slandering his name a little bit. So, you know, it is what it is. And we're going to talk more about it, obviously. But Thomas decided to take Serena P on the banana boating date, which looked so fun. The two of them ended up making out on the date, which was interesting because of Serena's connection with Grocery Store Joe, who Morgan is a super fan of. So we have to get her thoughts on that. And Thomas ended up having to spend the majority of the date explaining himself to Serena P, which took away from the date. And it actually resulted in Serena P going back to the beach, telling Joe that she told Thomas that he could see other people and that she didn't really want to be caught up in that. So, I mean, Fiona, do we think that Serena really didn't want to be caught up in that? Or do we think she just had her loyalty to Joe?
Well, if we think back to Matt's season, right? Serena is not someone that puts herself as at the center of drama. And honestly, Matt's season was so hectic, so chaotic, so volatile, right? I think that she was one of the lucky ones that was able to go on the show and come out fairly unscathed. And I'm sure she really recognizes, watching, you know, the other girls go through what they did, what can happen if you throw yourself into the wrong storylines of the season. And I think she read the room and went, you know what? There's certainly not enough of a spark here for me to risk something I have with a guy that everyone likes on the beach, right? Like, everyone is chill with Joe. Everyone just wants Joe to be happy. So I think she made the right call 100%. And I thought it was really mature that she explained it to him super honestly, so there weren't a bunch of question marks, right? She was super honest with him. She gave it a shot. He gave it a shot. At the end of the day, in her gut, she just knew it wasn't going to be right. And I was pretty thrilled about that, to be honest with you.
Morgan, what about you?
Yes, we have to protect Grocery Store Joe at all costs, although I am kind of hoping that he leaves the beach single so that he can be our next bachelor, but I won't get onto that soapbox. I just really am a fan of Serena P. I feel like she also is one that doesn't sugarcoat things. You know, when she left Matt's season, she pretty much told him, I just don't like you that much, and left, you know, which is why I have no problem with her coming back, you know, even though she did make it very far in Matt's season. Because I kind of given Brendan a little crap online just because I'm like, if you weren't ready to get engaged to Tayshia 6 months ago, what makes you ready to get engaged on the beach now? I just am not buying it. But when Serena left, she told Matt, like, I just don't think that you are the guy for me, which I respect that honesty. I also feel like Paradise especially, and in life in general, you're going to be tested. Like your relationship is going to be tested. And I feel like it's inevitable in Paradise. Let's get it out of the way early so that Serena and Joe can really just build on their connection moving forward. And then hopefully really do get engaged at the end because they were tested early.
Yeah. You know, where I'm at with Grocery Store Joe is that I kind of thought he was throwing himself a little bit of a pity party, like, all season long. So that's just how I feel. I just feel like he's just always feeling bad for himself. But I like how Serena P, like, says it how it is. She actually does keep it real. But, you know, you can't ignore the fact that she did go on the date with Thomas. So there was that interest there. And unfortunately, you know, that's not going to work out. So maybe Thomas possibly wasted the date with Serena, because I just feel like her mind was still made up with Joe. Thomas would have been better off taking someone else that was more open-minded. But either way, Thomas heard about everything from Serena, so he had to kind of talk to the rest of the guys. So he pulled aside Aaron, he pulled aside James, Trey, and Carl to clean the air, and Thomas owned up and apologized for everything he did from Katie's season. Maybe that kind of gives us more closure on why he didn't show up to the Men Tell All, because he was able to talk to the guys on the beach. It seemed like a genuine apology, but the issue is that Thomas did say some harsh things about Trey to Serena, which ended up getting back to Trey, and then Trey was pissed off, like pulling Thomas aside, don't talk to me anymore. It was crazy. I mean, Fiona, did you buy Thomas's apology? What were your thoughts on the Trey versus Thomas showdown?
You know, here's the thing. I think that Thomas is who he is. I think he's a really slick guy. I think he is hardwired to always say what he thinks is the right thing to say. Not that that means it always comes from a malicious place. I just think that he operates in a very slick, like, player maneuver. That's just who he is. So I feel like it's always going to be difficult with him, because sometimes he is going to be playing an angle and sometimes he is going to be coming from the right place, and I think it's always going to look exactly the same. So my takeaway when all of that was playing out was, I just, you know, kind of gave Goddess Victoria another chance. Carl's kind of keeping to himself, not stirring the pot. Tammy, I'm totally enjoying this season. Like, I will give Thomas, after this apology, the benefit of the doubt. And then if he goes and plays a bunch of girls on the beach, then sure, we were all right about him. We already know he's a little fame thirsty, but I feel like in Paradise, that's not as big of a deal, right? So I was kind of willing to see how things went from there, but kind of in the same way that Trey immediately snapped back out of it and was pissed at him, I snapped back out of it with him, because it was shady what he said about Trey, right? So my forgiveness kind of came and went, just like Trey's did.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Trey was talking crap about Thomas, so why can't Thomas talk crap about Trey? Like, I'm not even the biggest Thomas fan, but I still feel like there is a double standard, because he was isolated as the villain, where it's like everyone is allowed to say bad things about him to the beach, and God forbid he says one thing about somebody else. So that's kind of, and also, like, Thomas is not as fame hungry as they're calling him out to be. Have you seen Thomas's Instagram? He has 6 posts, and none of them are clear. They all are blurry. Like, Thomas does not know what he's doing, and you think that he would figure out social media right now if he was fame hungry. So I feel like they're just coming at him, maybe because he is a player and he's arrogant, but maybe they are just jealous. Morgan, what was your takeaway from how everything went down?
Yeah, I mean, when I watched back the apology, I was like, oh, okay, he really is owning up and specifically apologizing to each guy for the specific thing that he did to them, which I was like, oh, wow, that's really, it wasn't like a blanket, you guys, I'm sorry, let's just move forward. He said, Aaron, to you, I was this, Trey, to you, I was this. However, I just have trouble believing that Thomas would have been so inclined to apologize had it not ruined his relationship with Serena, right? It's like
Yeah,
at
good
that
point.
point, he's like, what else am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to have this situation keep happening over and over and over again? Or do I just tell these guys I'm sorry so we can hopefully wipe clean? I feel like his mistake was apologizing after the date. If he would have apologized before and kept his mouth shut about Trey and said, look, we've moved on, we've moved forward, it would have been a different story. But it just didn't play out like that. And unfortunately, it came around and kind of bit him in the butt.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how his relationship with the rest of the guys kind of unfolds throughout the season. I don't think it's water under the bridge. I think that there is some harboring resentment, and we're going to see in the previews Aaron and Thomas getting into it again. Trey is still pissed off. James is in that trio. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think Thomas did have, some fair points. They were coming for him. But we're going to have to move on to Riley, who showed up. And before we do that, I want to remind everyone we have a Q&A at the end of the video. Leave your questions, leave your comments, opinions. We're going to address it all. We cannot wait to hear from you guys. But let's talk about Riley. So Riley showed up on the beach. He was from Tayshia's season. He made it to the top 6 for people that don't remember. He was a lawyer. He grew up in Detroit, now lives in New York, and he has really big biceps. And a lot of the girls were thirsting over Riley and Thomas, but a lot of them were thirsting over Riley, specifically Tajwan. Morgan, what were your thoughts on Tajwan? Really taking a liking to Riley. I mean, Tajwan she's everywhere with Trey, the uncle, now Riley. Like, can Tajwan even make a decision?
Tajwan cracks me up. I mean, she is one of my favorite characters on the beach right now, especially for somebody that we didn't get to know while she was actually on The Bachelor. Her season or her time on Bachelor in Paradise, I think, is just so funny. She cracks me up. But I mean, I feel like if you knew you were getting ready to go to Bachelor in Paradise, everybody has that one person in the back of their mind that they would hope and pray would be there. I mean, for Tajwan, maybe that person really was Riley. And every time, she looked up, she was hoping that it was him that walked down. Now, it's not her fault. I'm not blaming her that Riley wasn't there, from the get-go, and she had to establish a connection. Otherwise, you get sent home. The guys had their roses that week, so she really had to make sure that she had a connection with someone, which ended up being Trey. And I mean, maybe it was to kind of tide her over until Riley got there. Obviously, that's not what ended up happening. And I do like her and Trey together. I think that they are cute. And Riley kind of makes me cringe sometimes. I don't know. This whole love triangle between Marissa, Riley, and Connor, I just cringe at the whole thing. I think it's all really cringy. It's not my favorite love triangle. But I feel like Tajwan will stick with Trey now, and she'll be better for it.
Yeah, they did kind of make amends at the end of the episode. But Fiona, what was your thoughts on Tajwan and Riley, and just Riley showing up on the beach in general?
I liked Riley in Tayshia's season. I don't remember having any issues with him at really any point. He was just kind of there and doing his thing, and then he wasn't. So I was totally happy to see him again. Seeing more of his personality this time around, I have to say, he, in a very different way than Thomas, to be clear, also gives me that constantly kind of slick, always trying to play game kind of guy. And you know what? That's totally great, but it's just not the personality that I'm super attracted to. I'm much more of a Connor the cat. That is who charms me. So I was really excited to see Riley, see what happened with him. But I like Trey for Tajwan more. And I think that she, at the end of the day, is going to realize that it's one thing to have a infatuation with someone, and it's another thing to have an actual connection with someone. And I feel like she was so gung-ho about Riley at first that I was like, oh my God, she just totally doesn't even care about Trey. But then later on in the night, she got really defensive over him, right? And kind of fought for him. And I think it's kind of coming through that in this paradise world, you can think Riley's super hot and be excited that he's on the beach and want to go on a date with him and still kind of be fighting for your other guy at the same time. So I don't think she's done anything wrong, and I was happy to see them kind of make up at the end of the night, like you said.
Yeah, that's a really good point. She was like infatuated. It's kind of like how Demi was infatuated with Brendan, and then she talked to him and realized, yep, not necessarily the thing. But plus, I just want to see Tajwan end up with someone in the Cooper family, whether it's Trey, Trey's cousin, Trey's uncle, Trey's dad, Trey's grandpa, Trey's stepbrother, Trey's best friend, just someone with the last name Cooper. So we are rooting for Tajwan and Trey. But Riley ended up deciding to take Marisa on the date, who previously was linked to, as Morgan mentioned, Connor the cat. And Marisa is from Montana. She has never been on a real romantic date before other than mini golf. She did mention that a couple of times. And she also mentioned that she was eliminated night one on Peter's season, because I was wondering why I couldn't really remember her so much. But Riley took her out on what he thought was going to be a romantic date, and it ended up being Fear Factor. They had to eat certain foods if they didn't feel comfortable answering questions by Mr. Lance Bass. And the questions got so personal. They were asking about like body counts and stuff like that. So Riley and Marisa ended up opting to eat tongue, and I think it was elephant tongue, or at least Riley thought it was. And the date ended up going really well, and we'll get into that in a second. But Fiona, I mean, are you going to be eating elephant tongue, or are you going to be spilling all of your tea?
I don't know. I mean, some of the questions are super personal, and I get it. Like, in that moment, you're not only confessing it to Lance Bass and to Riley or, you know, Marisa, you're confessing it to America. So maybe under that pressure, I would have reached for one of the bugs on the table or something. But, oh my gosh, this has to be my absolute worst nightmare of a date, of an activity. The only thing I will say for it, though, is we didn't see too much between them except what happened at this table, and they really connected, right? Through those little moments of sharing their answers, it's like they totally figured out through this disgusting game how compatible they are. So I think this actually worked out really well for everyone. I don't think they will regret this date, but it would be an absolute nightmare for me.
I'm not eating any of this food. Like, I rather just spill my tea at this point. Like, I'm not eating an elephant tongue. Like, it's really not happening. And Riley was like chowing it down. Morgan, what would you have done if you were on this date?
Well, you know, I did always want to be on like Fear Factor Survivor growing up. So I feel like maybe just for the challenge of it, I would do it. But I just feel so bad for Marisa, the poor girl. She got dressed to the nines, looking forward to her first romantic date ever. And this is what they give her. They were so shady to poor Marisa on her first romantic date. And you know they did it on purpose. Those Bachelor producers are shady. They're shady, shady, shady.
Don't feel too bad for her. I think the rest of the date went pretty well for her, so much so that she ended up, as Demi describes, in the boom boom room. We did see, you know, they were enjoying each other's company. We don't necessarily see that a lot on Bachelor in Paradise. I believe what it is, they have a few different rooms because usually they separate the guys and girls. And if you want to sleep together, then you can sign like a waiver. You have to get the producers' permission, and then you can sleep together for the rest of the night. So Marisa and Riley definitely hit it off. They had a great night. I think they're kind of locked and loaded at this point, which means that Connor the cat is now on the out singing with his guitar. Morgan, is there anyone else that Connor the cat should go for on the beach? Is it time for him to move on from Marisa? Because there's no turning back now.
I'm trying to even think of who he would be with. You know, I think him and Kelsey could have been cute-ish, but I feel like the only person that really might be available right now is Demi, and Demi would eat Connor the cat alive. There is no way that relationship is happening at all.
Fiona, who do you think, at least on the beach? I mean, we know there's some people coming, which is exciting, but Connor the cat needs a rose if he wants to stick around. There's Abigail.
Yeah, it's really It's really tough. I have to say, we didn't really see a lot, right, of Connor and Marissa's connection. We just kind of saw them making out. We were like, okay, they're one of them. I think they had like an early fun connection, but based on what we saw with her and Riley, I definitely don't think that Connor and her would have gone the distance, right? I think Connor is such a great guy. I want him to end up with someone. I don't think she needs to be like super sweet, right? Because I don't want to boil him down to just being sweet. Like, he has a lot going for him. He's smart, he's funny, he's definitely like really quick-witted. But it does feel like a lot of the girls on the beach right now aren't at the same like pace as he is. They move a little more intense or a little faster. So I feel like it's gonna be tough. The one person who popped into my head, not necessarily for compatibility reasons, but because she's not happy, is Natasha. Right? I think Natasha's really great. She's really smart. She's funny. I don't know that she's going to be into Connor's like punny humor and like super sweet guy thing, but you never know. And she's definitely not thrilled with Brendan. So that could be a saving grace for him. Maybe.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good idea. I was just thinking that maybe he should just go for Abigail and like screw everyone that's in a couple. Like, go for what you want, because there's no way that Connor the cat and Mauricio are gonna work out. I also just think that Connor the cat, and I'm never gonna call him just Connor the cat, I feel like he wasn't aggressive enough with Marisa. He never claimed her. He was kind of friend zoning her too much. I know they were making out and stuff, but I feel like they just were never gonna last. And Mauricio and Riley, that's end game. But yeah, Natasha would be a really good pick. She's not happy with Brendan, and maybe she could give Connor the cat her rose and send Brendan home before Piper even gets here. What do you think about that, Morgan?
You know, I just feel bad. I mean, of course, it definitely is possible, and that would be like revenge served piping hot. But I just feel
Piping
like
hot.
in this atmosphere, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
This atmosphere is tough for the nice guy, right? Because you constantly have the washboard abs and the muscles the size of these girls' heads walking down the door. And it's like, I mean, the cliche saying, nice guys finish last. But when you're on a beach with like 3 nice guys and like 12 supermodel hunks, it is harder for them to establish those connections, maybe because they're not used to being like, the most aggressive or I don't want to say charming, because it's like you said, he is charming in his own way, Fiona. But
he is charming.
It's just not an aggressive type of approach, where in Paradise you kind of have to like know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and who you're going to do it with. Otherwise you get like a little left in the dust, which I feel like might happen with Connor.
Yeah, you got to make your moves. I mean, he was singing his song, so clearly he's talented. He has a great personality because he can dress up as a cat. So he has a lot going for him. But I think he's going to have to step it up, because the girls have the power this week. And, Demi is going to be flaunting that. She is excited about it. We have to talk about what's going to happen next week, because I have a feeling it's going to get juicy. So let's kind of talk about some of these clips. We're going to set them up. We're going to react to them next week, Monday night. So this first clip, we have a little something going on with Joe and Serena. Bum, bum, bum. It's going to be good.
Suspense.
It's going to be juicy. Just wait one second.
Don't put Joe on the screen. I'll start crying.
I mean, I think Joe and Serena are solid now until Kendall shows up. They already got through the Thomas situation. So.
And then the tables are really going to turn, because it's like, Serena was tested. Now it's Joe's turn to be tested. It's going to be really, really intense.
Yeah. So let's play this clip. Let's see.
They are cute together, you guys.
Yeah.
With you.
Oh, they're on a one-on-one date. Serena is getting awesome one-on-one dates. It's always like that one girl that gets a few dates, and then there's like other people who have to wait until like the final week to get a date. But a wrestling date, how do we think that's gonna go, Fiona?
I don't understand that, to be honest with you. Sometimes I think producers are just like, yeah, why not? I don't know. Like, let's bring back that wrestling ring we already have. Because I feel like wrestling, boxing, like this is just every season you're going to get some version of this. The scene we just saw was cute, so maybe it's gonna end up being an awesome date, but I would rather go jet skiing than be forced to wrestle, I guess, is how I would put
Or
it.
banana
opinion,
boating.
Yeah, it's just an excuse for them to get close. It's kind of like playing Twister, where it's like, yes, we're
Mhm.
playing a game, but really we want to feel up on each other. Hence the make
Yeah.
out at the end.
Yeah.
They're so hot and heavy for each other. Like, whatever's working for them is really working. Like, they actually like each other. Ivan and Jasenia are my personal favorite couple on the beach right now, but I see the chemistry between them, and I think it's really apparent regardless. But Connor the cat, he, as we just mentioned, he's going through it. So let's take a look on how next week is going to go for him. I want to see if there's any hope for him. Let's see if we can point out the clues in this next clip.
Connor is one of the
Love the
sweetest
outfit.
humans I have ever met, but Riley is a dream man.
They slept in the room. Wait, what?
I like his
Aw.
outfits. See, he has so much going for him. Tajwan is delivering the news. I mean, Morgan, would you want Tajwan to deliver the news? Isn't that like kind of a saving? It's the easiest person to tell you this is what you missed out last night.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction when I saw that is like, how does he not know that they just didn't come back from the date? Like, if the guys live together, wouldn't he figure it out that, you know, Riley's not back? That must mean that he's spending the night somewhere else. So that kind of confused me a little bit. But also, I think I would want to hear it from the person that I was seeing and not somebody else. Because, like, how did Tajwan know? She's probably like, okay, well, I know because Marissa didn't come back. So that just kind of confused me a little bit, but
I mean, either way, just give Tajwan more airtime. Someone has to deliver the news, and it's Tajwan puts a funny twist on it. I mean, how do you think he's going to react, Fiona?
You know, I think he's a really good guy. I think he's a really fair guy, right? Like, they did not commit to each other. He knew this was a possibility. I don't think he's going to be like angry with her. You know what I mean? I think he is just gonna feel sad. I think he's going to kind of feel, I mean, I hate to like say it this way, but he really kind of got, you know, a bit of an ego check from Katie. Like, that must have been hard to go through. And now this first girl who was so hot and happy with him runs off and spends the night in the boom boom room with another guy, right? Like, at a certain point, he might feel a little bruised in all of this. But he's a really good guy. He looks great in this outfit.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he's sad about it, a little heartbroken, and then just goes and charms somebody else because he deserves it.
Yeah, and he did get that consolation prize of making out with that girl in the audience on the mental all. So, you know, if all else fails, Connor is going to be fine. But, you know, it looks like a lot of the couples seem solid, but let's see if they're actually solid. We have another clip at the first demise of a power couple that was Kenny and Mari. Let's take a look at this.
Everyone's freaking married around here. Make a move on whoever you're interested in.
Mari says, oh my god, Chasen is here. Do you guys remember Chasen? He was never really announced to be on the show in his cast photos, but Mari says, make a move on whoever you want. And I think we all know what's going to happen, and I cannot wait. I'm glad that we're getting this sooner than later. What is going to happen, Morgan?
well, I mean, I think that it's going to get a little crazy because this is just my photographic memory. You know, here's the scene with her and Demi, and then the scene that Mari is crying her eyes out. She's wearing the same outfit. So this probably all happened on the same day. So what it's going to boil down to is Mari's going to be like, Demi, I told you today to go for what you want. 5 seconds later, you stole my man. Like, what the heck? I wasn't expecting that. But I cannot wait for Chasen. I was like,
Why?
like you said, I think he's so hot. He's so hot.
fair.
And I want to see a little bit more of his personality. Look, people are excited for Brendan because he's hot.
Mhm.
You know, I'm excited for Chasen because he's hot.
That's fair. I mean, he's all over Deandra right now, which I love because Deandra, I mean, we knew she was going to ditch Carl. She had to get that rose from Carl, but I'm glad that she has a guy because I didn't know how I was going to feel about her coming into Paradise because I didn't remember her much from Peter's season, but I actually am loving her. I like her commentary. She seems very mature, grounded, spunky. What do you think about this potential couple, Fiona?
Yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying her so far. I am just like you. I didn't feel like I super knew Deandra very well going into this season. But of course, I'm rooting for literally everyone to find love, right? So happy to see her connecting with Chasen here. Chasen drove me a little nuts on Tayshia's season.
Me too.
But I am with you, Morgan. He's really hot. And I think what drove me nuts is I didn't really see him and Tayshia together. And he kind of kept putting his foot in his mouth and not getting along with the guy. So it's just like the connection's not there. Get out of here. But he's a hot guy, and I don't think he's a bad person. So if he can actually find like a hot connection with someone on the beach, I am going to be so here for his arrival. Although I feel like this is the stream of Connor the Cat. Like, Chasen being on the beach, like who is Connor going to end up with if a Chasen is thrown into the mix? Like, oh my God, I'm getting worried for him.
Yeah, I mean, like I've mentioned in lives, like this is the all-star cast. There are 41 people. There's going to be a lot of people coming in and a lot of people going home. We had 4 girls go home at the first rose ceremony, so, or 4 girls. So, I mean, it's going to be a lot of people in and out, but I want to talk more about this Demi and Maury stuff because in this next clip, things are going to be escalating a little bit and it's going to be crazy. So let's take a look. Demi is stirring the pot.
I show everyone how paradise is done. I really want to kiss you.
I'll kiss you right now.
She turns around and does this. And I'm right there watching.
Okay, well, to be fair, Demi is a Paradise OG, and the show would be boring if everyone was coupled up and there was no drama. So I'm kind of happy that she is setting the tone and going for what she wants. Fiona, what do you think?
If I were Mari, I would be feeling the same way because I feel like what I'm sensing for Mari here is like a loyalty to your girl. Like she would never do something like that to someone on the beach, and I would be the same way. I would have such a hard time doing what Demi is doing here, even if it meant going after someone I would like. So totally empathize with her. But I really, as like bold and sassy or nasty, whatever word you want to use, is what Demi is doing. Kenny is who I'm angrier at, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'll kiss you right now. Like, what? No. You know what I mean? Like, there's something to be said about, I feel like Kenny and Mari have already sort of established that you're my person. They don't seem to have established as much of an open door policy. Maybe they have. I guess we haven't really gotten clarity on that yet. But Demi went over to shoot her shot, and while that's shady on a girl-to-girl level, that's to be expected. Kenny just immediately tossing Mari aside feels harsh. So not loving that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Mari was the one that encouraged Demi to go talk to other guys, so it is shady in that aspect. It also seems like Mari and Demi were hanging out a lot. They might have been closer friends, but I also feel like it's Paradise. Everyone is up for grabs. Like, that is the point of the show. So I don't think Demi did anything wrong, but obviously we'll see what happens on next week's episode. There is another clip here with Connor the Cat possibly leaving the beach, which would be really sad. So let's take a look at this.
The beach is imploding.
I deserve some respect. Don't with me.
Everyone's making out with.
Well, I guess Connor the Cat is maybe, oh, he looks sad, crying to Mari. The beach is exploding and they are all crying. They're editing in thunderstorms. It's definitely not raining. Who do we think that was in the waves by herself, Morgan, with that pattern? Let's get back to that shot. Who is that?
It's Tajwan, right? That looks like Tajwan with her hair.
Maybe. I hope she doesn't swim away. We need her. We need her on this beach.
It looks like her body build. It looks like her hair. I definitely think that that's her.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm really sad for Connor if he's going to leave, but hopefully he like gives it one last shot before he goes. I mean, he's just crying to Mari. Maybe Connor is comforting Mari. What do you think, Morgan?
Yeah, I want to see if we can see if she's in the yellow outfit because we do know that the cake at some point gets thrown.
Yellow.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, so
The
I think maybe
cake.
Connor might be consoling Mari in this situation, who we all know is very upset what went down between Demi or what is going to go down between Demi and why am I blanking on his name? Kenny. And it's like you said, Fiona, like be mad at the dude because Demi is on assignment. They put her on
It's her
that beach
job.
to be the villain, to stir the pot. And that is exactly what she's doing. She's fulfilling her role as the villain on the beach. But yeah, I feel like that is what we're seeing here is Mari kind of going to Connor. And we know at some point with this look that the cake for Kenny's birthday goes in the fire. So this might be like her mourning. And then in the next scene, she's going to be very angry.
Yeah.
You guys, could we see, do you think it's at all possible that I think Kenny should definitely get some of the heat here? What if Mari's like, screw you, I'm not giving you a rose. Demi gives Kenny a rose. Mari goes to Connor.
That
would be
is
She's like, screw you.
possible.
Like maybe that could be
possible.
his saving grace.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, that is honestly a good point. You really don't know. And there is another clip of the cake thing that we're going to look at. But first, we actually have a clip of someone possibly making a move on Jasenia. And I am freaking out because I ride so hard for Jasenia and Ivan. They are my favorite couple on the beach right now by a landslide. No one even compares. So let's take a look at this clip and hopefully my dreams don't get crushed.
Everyone.
Jasenia is gorgeous. Ivan should be spared.
No. No.
Who is that?
Okay, so that's Chris
Is that
Conran.
Joe?
Chris Conran. I believe he was from Katie's season or Tayshia and Claire's. He was eliminated early. I know that he's friends with Tammy in real life because they are always posting together. They were just on live together yesterday. So he has a lot of friends in Bachelor Nation. He's also good friends with Katie. So I cannot even believe he's going for Jasenia. I cannot have Jasenia and Ivan break up. Are you guys on the same page with me? Or am I the only one who like ships them so hard it actually hurts?
I love them. I really do. I think Jasenia's great. I think Ivan's great. I think Jasenia, though, is one of the girls who will go for a nice guy. Does that make sense? Like the Connors, the Ivans, they need to fight for Jasenia because I don't think she's here for some player, some guy whose entire personality is his muscles. Like that is not her speed. So if this guy comes in and is a really nice guy, like the nice guys are going to have more competition. She's like a total catch.
For sure.
Yeah, of course I'm here for Jasenia and Ivan, but this guy's hot too. So
Chris?
I very well could be, I still don't know his name, Chris. Okay, I very well could be Jasenia and Chris on their team after seeing this date because he's cute. And I don't know anything about him, so we need to learn more about him before I can make a judgment.
I mean, like, Jasenia, do not let Ivan go. Like, he will find someone else. Like, I feel like a lot of the girls would be interested in Ivan, but he kind of was really pursuing Jasenia. So I hope she doesn't break his heart because I will not be able to handle that. Kind of like, Morgan, how if Joe and Serena break up, like, how devastated you would be.
I get it.
Who's your favorite couple on the beach right now? Are you, like, Abigail and Noah stan?
No, I'm not. I don't know if those two are going to last. I'm fine with it, but I wouldn't be shocked if those two get ruffled. I think I'm honestly like equal parts Serena and Joe, Ivan and Jasenia, but I don't like think I would be all-time devastated. I'm not as extreme as either of you, but those are my two favorites. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, Fiona, you're going to have to find your own favorite by the end of the season. By next week, you're going to have to come here and tell us who you are standing. I think it might be Aaron and Tammy. Yeah, commit. You have to pick. It might be Aaron and Tammy for you. I kind of foresee that. But we have one more clip of the whole cake situation. And I mean, this might be one of the most iconic moments in Bachelor in Paradise history, and it hasn't happened yet. So let's see if we can get any clues. It's the last clip.
you, and then you backstab.
I'm not backstabbing you.
The beach is a dumpster fire right now. No one is safe.
Oh, no.
Your cake was in the fire, by the way. Suck my
Oh, no. Unless Demi made the cake from scratch, you are ruining Kenny's birthday and his cake. So why are you doing that, Mari? That's where I stand on that. Where do you guys stand?
It's Kenny's cake? I thought it was Demi's cake. Am I confused?
I thought it was Kenny's birthday. I think it was.
I think it is Penny's cake.
Yeah.
And I
That's what I
believe
think.
that in promos past, we've seen Demi bring the cake to Kenny. So I
Yeah.
do think that it was some sort of, flirtatious thing. I don't know, made it, but she did it. She does at least bring it to him. I don't know where it goes from there, but we know that it ends up in the fire at some point.
Yeah.
Right. So
What I
when
do
she's
have-
saying to Demi, your cake's in the fire, it's the cake you gave. Got it.
I do have a little insider tea from Wells Adams that he said in an interview, so it's out there. He said that Mari came to the bar and she was thinking about throwing the cake in the ocean, but then Wells was the one who told him, no, just throw it in the fire. And then that's kind of how the situation happened. And I think it's happened the way it was supposed to, because a fire is so much more dramatic. I mean, she could have thrown it in Demi's face. I mean, that would have been a lot worse. She could have got kicked off the beach for that, maybe. But I mean, throwing it in the fire is just so funny because at least the lights are there. I don't think it's gonna put the fire out. Was anyone a Girl Scout? How is this gonna affect the fire?
No, I was not
I think
a Girl
the fire
Scout.
will be okay.
Okay.
The
sure.
fire will blaze on.
Okay. And I really think this also might be a rose ceremony night. I don't know, but it's going to be so intense. So we're definitely looking forward to next week. Those are all the clips. So now we're going to open it up to our Q&A. So bring your questions, your opinions, your comments, literally everything. We're going to dish and discuss what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen in future weeks. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what Bachelor Nation has to say. I mean, Morgan, you kind of brought up the Piper thing. How do you think that's gonna go? Because Piper might be showing up next week.
Yeah, I mean, we're all waiting for her to walk down the steps, right? And I just feel annoyed with Brendan that he's kind of just using Natasha as a placeholder, in my opinion. And to me, that's using somebody, which is rude and mean. And it's if you guys have this established already, just date at home. What is the point of coming onto Paradise, taking up 2 spots from real single people that want to find love? To me, it's just thirsty, it's annoying, and I just see right through it, and I'm not here for it.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see what story Piper comes in with. If her story, will it match Brendan's? Will she come in with a different story? What if she comes in and she's like, no, Brendan's mine? Or imagine she asks someone else on a date? We really don't know what her situation is, but it definitely seems like Brendan is in and out with Natasha because Natasha is starting to pick up on it. They haven't even kissed yet. And it's been a week. They should have kissed by now.
Mm-hmm.
So Natasha needs to see what else is out there for her. And maybe she will, because Riley's coming in, Thomas came in, and now we have Chasen. So Natasha better make her moves while she has the power this week, because those roses mean everything. Sandy says, bring back David Spade. Morgan, you mentioned this earlier. I mean, I was happy to see Lance Bass. I loved him on The Circle when he made his appearance. So I'm happy to see him. But Morgan, what do you think about Lance Bass versus David Spade so far?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Lance Bass? He's an icon. I just think it's a really, it's hard shoes to follow, right? Because David Spade, I feel brought so much humor. He really did bring a lot. When he was reading the 7 Ways to Start Drama book, I was cracking up. When he was meeting people before they walked down to the beach. I just feel it's a tough act to follow because David Spade is so funny and Lance Bass just has a different vibe to him. Of course, he's iconic. We're all happy that he's there, but I agree, tough footsteps to follow in, and I wouldn't be mad if David Spade was the full-time host of Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah. I want to see him host the BIP reunion, which I think he will. Someone has to host the BIP reunion. It could be Wells, but I think David Spade kind of set the tone. How do you think Lance is doing so far, Fiona? We saw him gossiping with the girls, which is something that was kind of funny.
Oh, I thought it was cute. I thought his entrance was great. I loved the way he timed it to the song. I actually thought he did a good job of making that disgusting date with Riley. You know, fun. I think he carried it well. I think he, you know, gave it the right amount of energy, the right amount of silliness. I loved watching him gossip with the girls. Like, I think that what they're trying to do is bring people who are very different, right? We're not looking for this week to feel like David Spade's week. So it's just going to be hard because as viewers, like, you might absolutely love one of the celebrity guests and they're going to be in and out of there, right? So it's an interesting concept they're trying out. I'm enjoying it so far, but I am curious if by the end of the season, people are rallying for David Spade as much as they were at the beginning of the season. You know what I mean? Like, is that energy going to really maintain? Or will we all kind of forget by week whatever it is?
Especially when Little John shows up.
Exactly. So many fun people. Dino here says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm rooting for Thomas. These guys are a bunch of crybabies. I'm really curious what you guys think about this, because I also kind of felt to a certain degree like you need to focus on the fact that none of you have roses this week and stop talking about Thomas. It did seem a little crybaby-ish. Would you agree, Zach?
Yeah, I would. I think that also these guys who are crying about Thomas are 26. And, like, that's still on the younger side where you might not be ready to get married and have kids. And I don't know how old Thomas is. I think he's a little bit older. So I feel like they're just kind of intimidated. I mean, Aaron is, like, so hot, but so not at the same time. Because he has, like, the tan and the muscles, and he's funny, and then the testosterone. But then he's also just, like, kind of insecure and, like, obsessing over Thomas for no reason. And I just feel like Aaron, like, sets the tone for, like, all of this. James is, like, his sidekick. I love Trey. Like, Trey is my boy. Like, I wouldn't put him in, like, group him in with that. But, like, Aaron is just, maybe Aaron wants to take Thomas on a one-on-one date. You never know.
You never know. We got one from Natalie. It says, I wonder if Ed is going to show up. I would love to see the drama between him and Chase. And I forgot about Ed. But it's like you said, Zach, 41 potential lovers walking down the steps of paradise. I would not be surprised at all if Ed shows up. And I do feel like this is the way that they cast the show, right? Who has drama with who? What little feuds do we want to reignite? We obviously are seeing Chasen first. Fiona, do you think we're going to see Ed?
I hope not. I'm sorry. I did not like Ed at all. I thought he was annoying. I feel mean, but, like, there are so many people that I would love to see again. You know what I mean? Like, so many other characters, even more guys from Tayshia's season. So I just don't need Ed. I also don't think he'd connect with anyone that's on the beach right now. Like, I don't need Ed.
I'm pretty sure Ed is gonna show up eventually. I do remember that scene where he, like, walked to Chris Harrison's door in Palm Springs and they had a funny moment. So Ed could give us some good TV, but Ed also did have that feud with Chasen, you mentioned, Morgan. That was kind of random. I think a lot of people were actually calling out Chasen for being a clout chaser, and, like, being there for the Instagram and stuff. So I wonder if that storyline will follow Chasen in, but I love a good round 2, and I am waiting for McKenna and Tammy, because we know McKenna is showing up at one point. So Tammy better stick around for that. Alicia says, I think they are grooming Wells to be the next host. I think so too. And I don't know why they didn't necessarily want to make him the host this year full time, but I think that they are grooming him. And I think he did a great job at the rose ceremony. We saw him in that serious light. And I think when he was originally cast as the bartender, he was a lot more goofy and fun. And now after 5 seasons, they're really grooming him to be the host. I hope he's getting a pay grade. And maybe Wells will even host the Paradise reunion. Fiona, what do you think about that?
I do really love Wells. I think he's killed it as the bartender this season, and I thought he did a great job in that rose ceremony. I know when we were actively discussing, like, who's going to replace Chris Harrison, there was that moment where a lot of us were really buzzing about Wells, and I'm totally paraphrasing because it's been a long time, but I do remember him doing an interview at the time saying that he loves his role of bartender because he gets to be there face to face with people, kind of play a role and help foster these connections, help coach people through the process. And I guess up until now in the structure, right, you don't get to be that as the host. So I think that, you know, he kind of was hesitant to step into a more serious role as well. So maybe this is how they're working through it, right? He wasn't sure if that would work for him. They're slowly easing him in, seeing if he likes it, because let's face it, he's totally attractive. Bachelor Nation loves him. He literally does this, you know, to a certain degree for a living. Like, it should be Wells. No questions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, for
I
sure.
feel like he's actually in the best position. It's like, because you said we don't really see a lot of the hosts. We saw Lance Bass, twice this past episode, where we saw Wells a lot. And I feel like they might even be reworking, you know, the job title to where, you know, the host, Wells is the person that's on the beach. He also administers the rose ceremony. He also does, you know, the reunion, whereas these guest hosts are more of the filler or the bartenders. You get what I'm trying
Wells
to
is
say?
holding it down.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's in a good spot where he is right now.
They gave him the title Master of Rose Ceremonies, which I think they created just for him. And whether you're on The Bachelor or in any company, if your job is particularly giving you a new role, particularly for you, that is an amazing sign that you're doing a good job, because they never had this Master of Rose Ceremony role before. But of course, for Wells, they're making it happen. So Wells is killing it. So I'm super happy for him. I want him to get married to Sarah Hyland soon. They've been engaged forever. So cannot wait for that wedding. Oh my God, we have a tweet from Demi Burnett. Morgan, do you want to read this one?
Sure. Demi said, y'all don't understand. Seeing Carl fighting the air all alone on the beach was one of the highlights of my summer. I was in tears. When I brought it up to him, he said, oh, y'all saw that? And then a bunch of dead emojis. See, these are the kinds of things, like, yes, we saw it in his little intro, but we don't see a lot of that kind of stuff, which I wish we did see more of those little funny behind the scenes moments.
I mean, Carl's not that bad. That's kind of what it sounds like. Brett Fragara says, dare I say, Trey choosing to forgive Thomas and give him another chance feels emotionally strong? ? I mean, we kind of touched about this, and then they got into a fight after, so I don't really know what's going to happen between them, but I think the big feud is between Aaron and Thomas. Fiona, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting because Trey being described by Thomas, I believe he used the words emotionally weak, right? Or something to the opposite effect of that. Doesn't make sense to me at all. I think Trey is very emotionally mature. I mean, not to like bring it back to him and Tajwan, but he is confident in his connection with a girl who previously had a thing with his uncle, right? Like, this is someone who has a level of emotional maturity, right? I mean, if you were super immature, you would not be able to get past that. But it is interesting because what we heard from Trey, the end of his final spat with Thomas was, I'm no longer intentionally speaking to you, like basically stay away from me. And in the peacemaking conversation, Aaron basically said, I hear what you're saying, I respect it, but stay away from me. So you can't stay away from someone on Paradise, right? Like, these three, or at least two of the three, are gonna clash again. It's just not possible to avoid it.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, Trey's intro was in a ball pit. Like, he came in a ball pit on Katie's season. I love that we have the song now with everyone's, like, intro things, because we didn't get that on the first episode. And Trey was in the ball pit. James was in the piñata. Demi was quite literally stirring a pot, which is so funny. Fiona has something to say. Connor is a gentle soul. Protect him at Bachelor in Paradise. #BIP. Connor is a gentle soul. We do need to protect him. Fiona, how would you respond to Fiona?
Well, first of all, who are you? I've like never met another Fiona. How cool. And also, I couldn't agree with you more. I think he is a gentle soul, and I hope we do protect him, and I hope he does find love. So you and I are just like totally in sync, girl.
My God. All Fionas
you guys
think alike.
Protect him, but with all those hunks on the beach, I'm sorry. He would not be my first pick. And there's like nothing that you can do about that. Hopefully somebody will come down the steps that loves gentle souls. We'll put it that way.
Yes. Morgan, what is Nicole saying?
Okay, she says the fact that Joe had no doubt Thomas was going to take Serena is this emoji. He knows how beautiful his girl is. Hashtag Bachelor in Paradise. I feel like Serena is the it girl on the beach this season. And it's not necessarily something that I would have thought going into the season. I would have thought maybe Abigail, just because everybody was talking about her after Matt's season. You know, a lot of people wanted her to be the Bachelorette. But I do love me some Serena P. I think she's very level-headed. Like I said, she doesn't sugarcoat things, and I really admire that. And I feel like she is there for the right reason. So Serena P, the it girl, who would have thunk?
She is, though. I think that she's getting the most attention. She's been asked out on a date. She's going to go on another date next week. So, and she is really mature. But I did catch an editing thing when Serena P was having like a interview bite. They had her age as 25, which was kind of weird because we know that she's 23 because she mentioned that with the age gap between her and grocery store Joe. So I don't know if that was an editing thing, but like, how old are you really, Serena? Because it does make a difference since this age gap was such a thing that people were talking about. So I would like to know, how old do you think she is, Fiona?
Well, I think she's 23 based on what she said. I mean, why would you? It doesn't look better to be younger, right? Like, I feel like it kind of gives you an edge to be in your mid-20s as opposed to your early 20s. I have to say, you guys, Kenny, like, stresses me out. I don't know how I feel about Kenny yet. I just like the coming in naked, the fact that he's 40, we'll see. Keeping an open mind, but I'm not sure.
He would have been, why was his age not as emphasized on Claire's season? Because Claire's age was so emphasized. 39, 39. Like, Kenny and Claire could have been a thing, but we'll have to see what happens next week. Morgan, final predictions. What is going to happen next week? What are you looking forward to seeing?
I cannot wait to see the cake in the fire. I can't wait to see what happens before, after, and in the middle. I think it's going to be great. We're going to get another big fight between Aaron and Thomas, which I actually am not looking forward to because I'm so over all the Thomas drama. I know you guys agree, but that would be my vote. The cake in the fire is going to be an iconic Bachelor in Paradise moment, and we get it next week. So it's exciting times.
For years to come. For years to come. Fiona, what are you most looking forward to seeing next week?
Absolutely cake in the fire, 100%. And I think looking forward to is maybe not the right word, but I got to know what happens to Connor. This is going to be a make or break week for him. So it's not like I'm excited to see things play out potentially poorly, but I need answers. So cake in the fire and more Connor.
Yeah, and I'm going to disagree with you guys. I'm really excited about the cake in the fire. So next week is going to be so much fun, and that is everything we have to share with you guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the live. Even if you guys missed today's live, leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think. We will read them. We will reply to them. And before you guys go, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell because we'll be back with more Bachelor in Paradise news. 2 episodes next week. As always, I'm your host, Zachary Reality, and I was joined today by Fiona Zaring and Morgan Wright. Our social media handles are on the screen right now. Come talk all things Bachelor with us. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time on the beach. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you later.